Hello and welcome to Let's Review. Have you ever had one of those weeks when you just want to violently kill something? I have. And, well, frankly, when that happens, I have two options. Number one, I pick up this and go stab and or slice something to death. Or number two, I play something very, very violent. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine is very, very violent. But is it actually any good as a game? Well, to answer that, we start as we always do, with the gameplay. Space Marine is a third-person action game set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, and as such, it's about exactly one thing. Because after all, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. This is the gameplay of Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. Here you can see our primary character, Captain Titus, with his nice chainsword and his bolt pistol. I actually have a selection of up to 4 weapons at once, so the primary weapon and the secondary weapon, so that's your pistol and your bolter, are the same, and you can change out your tertiary and whatever the heck the fourth-ary weapon is as you find better ones throughout the game. So I've currently got a stalker pattern bolt gun, which allows me to zoom in like this, and I'm just going to use it to get a couple of kills in. Now, throw a grenade into that orc. And while the ranged combat is reasonably straightforward and does have a good bit of punch to it, this game's mostly about the melee, so I can now wade in with my chainsword, and I can start cutting orcs apart. You don't have much in the way of complicated combos. I'm just tapping the right mouse button 4 times to do this. I've also got a stun move, which allows me to disable an enemy and sets them up for an execution move like that. Those execution moves are actually used to restore your health. So you notice I've taken a little bit of damage, so I now stun one of them, execute him, and my health is back up. I've also got a regenerating armor shield, but that doesn't last for terribly long. And that orc is down. The combat is very straightforward. There's only a limited number of moves. So for example, that stomp move will stun multiple enemies around you. Again, you're basically limited by what weapons you currently have. So you will always have a pistol, either bolt or plasma, and your bolter, or you will once you acquire them very early in the campaign, I should say. And then you'll always have a melee weapon, which will either be your combat knife, which you ditch pretty early in the game, a chainsword, a power axe, or the thunder hammer, which I'll be showing you a little bit later. Now that is an orc knob who is not vulnerable to the standard attack, so instead I'm going to use Fury mode, which basically supercharged me for a little while, and use that to allow me to execute the orc knob without difficulty. Otherwise I would have had to wear him down a lot before I could stun him and either just put a load of bolter rounds through his skull or actually get a proper execution in order to regain my health. And fundamentally, that really is it for the main gameplay of 40k Space Marine. It really is not terribly complicated, but it is really quite fun. While the gameplay is not terribly complicated, especially given the relative lack of combos, it is intensely satisfying. I take probably a perverse amount of pleasure in jamming a whirring chainsword into an orc chest, or picking up an enemy by the throat, throwing them to the ground, and then exploding their head with a well-placed boot. And then there are the sections where the game lets you loose with an assault pack. On occasion in this game, you will locate assault drop pods, which will allow you to make temporary use of an assault jump pack. This particular one also comes with a thunder hammer, which I mentioned earlier. Now, while using a jump pack, you are limited to only 2 weapons, the pistol and the bolter. However, you have the advantage that you now have a submarine jump pack, which allows you to do things like that. This is really, really good for dealing with clustered enemies, because there is absolutely nothing they can do about it. Even the Nob class enemies that you saw earlier, which are quite difficult to take out normally, die pathetically easily when you've got a jump pack. Because these sections are not about giving you a challenge, they're about letting you have fun. They are all about smashing your way into clusters of enemies and just obliterating them. As you can tell by the fact that this section includes an Orc Weird Boy who will just keep on teleporting in guys until you get bored and go and kill him. And the game will not force you to kill him until you decide you want to. Because it knows that this is just really, really fun. Oh, that feels good. These segments are pretty rare, and honestly, that's probably for the best. They end up feeling almost like sweet treats in between the main meals that is the rest of the game, and that definitely works out to its benefit. It prevents you getting tired of them, and just lets you really enjoy them while they're there. Overall, Space Marine is not a complex game, not by any means, but every part of it has been tailored to make it just feel so damn good. And if you've never played it, I can honestly recommend its gameplay to you. I'm going to apologise in advance to any non-40k fans in my audience, for the simple reason that, in order to summarise this game quickly, I'm going to have to use a few 40k terms that you might not understand. Most of them are relatively straightforward to figure out, but I still feel the need to apologise, so sorry. The game follows an ultramarine captain named Titus. He, along with several of his fellows, have been ordered to the Forge world of Graia, which is under attack by an entire Orc War. The job of Captain Titus and his Ultramarines is to secure several key locations on the planet, including a factory that produces Warlord-class Titans. They are there to secure these facilities and hold them in preparation for the arrival of a full Liberation fleet, which is intending to secure the planet. Unfortunately for Captain Titus and his team, he is diverted from his mission when he receives a distress call from an Imperial Inquisitor named Drogon. How large is this team exactly? 3 Marines, including Captain Titus, one of whom is a newbie. Against an entire war? I appreciate that Space Marines are meant to be unbelievably incredible warriors, but isn't that stretching things just a little? Oh god, yes. I mean, the amount of enemies that Captain Titus takes out by himself is frankly kind of ridiculous and a little bit anti-law, but frankly, I'm willing to let the game get away with it for the sake of the gameplay. Honestly, I like the story. It's fairly bog-standard boilerplate 40k, but I honestly think it actually works really well as an introduction to the universe. Particularly because it does, of course, use the most boring of all the Space Marine chapters. The Ultramarines? The Ultramarines. Look, I get that there's a lot of people out there who genuinely like the Ultramarines. I am just not one of those people. I don't hate them or anything. I just happen to think there are far more interesting chapters out there. Though, as I've said, they are quite good for introducing someone to 40k lore, which a lot of the times is what this game feels like it's trying to do. This game also features something else that's shockingly rare to see in 40k media: competent Imperial Guard. You mean they actually managed to do something other than die en masse? Well, some of them do. Okay, one of them does. Look, it's still nice to see, regardless of the fact that it's basically one really competent officer. Largely because everybody higher in rank than her is dead. While the game's plot is fairly generic boilerplate, it is reasonably well handled. It ramps up well, it feels like everything's building to a big event, and overall it does have a sense of scale, which is genuinely nice to see. It also throws in a second enemy round about the point you're starting to get sick of fighting the orcs. I assume that second enemy is the most predictable choice possible. Yes, it is. Look, I'll be honest, if you know absolutely anything at all about 40k lore, you can probably predict the plot twists in the story, but that doesn't mean that it's not enjoyable. The most annoying thing about it, oddly, is actually how it ends. I wouldn't describe the ending as a cliffhanger, personally, but it does have a fairly blatant sequel hook. For a sequel that we're sadly probably never going to see, what with the whole THQ going bankrupt thing. Overall, I like Space Marine's story. It's simple, but it works, and it genuinely is an excellent starting point to get you into 40k lore if you're not a fan of the universe. And frankly, that's all we could have asked of it. Graphically speaking, the game looks absolutely gorgeous. The textures are really good, the character models are excellent, and somehow the whole thing manages to run at an absolutely buttery smooth 60 FPS. Honestly, there's only one graphical thing I could possibly complain about, and that's the fact that sometimes during the execution moves, you can get a few clipping issues, especially if you perform them either near walls or on uneven surfaces. Honestly though, it's not exactly game-breaking. It's a little weird to see, but frankly, given the quality of everything else, I'm willing to let the game get away with it. The art for this game is 40k through and through. Frankly, a lot of it feels like you're looking at life-sized versions of the miniatures, and frankly, that's exactly what you want. Everything from the loving, intricate details on the marine armour to the little touches that make the orcs look exactly like they should shows a deep love and respect for the art style of the 40k universe. And frankly, as somebody who really likes the art style of the 40k universe, I'm really happy to see it done quite as well as it is in this game. Overall, the art style for this game is absolutely perfect. The music for this game is actually really damn good. It's one of the few soundtracks that I actually did go to the trouble of locating and getting myself a copy of, because I really do like it. The voice acting likewise is pretty damn good. Titus is actually played by the actor Mark Strong, who, while he plays a lot of villains, is actually genuinely a very good actor, and it's nice to see him do something a bit different. The rest of the cast also give really good performances, in particular the actress who plays Lieutenant Mira. The sound effects likewise are fantastic. They do an excellent job of making you feel big, from the big clumpy sound effects of your boots whenever you're sprinting, to the heavy impact of a thunderhammer discharging onto an enemy's spine. Overall, I cannot be more positive about the audio for this game, because frankly, it is excellent. So, did I enjoy Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine? Oh, hell yes! Should you buy it? Absolutely. I'm going to be honest, it's not the most complicated game, it's not the longest game, but it is just so damn satisfying to play. It's one of those games where if you're in the need of a bit of catharsis, you can just fire it up, play through it in an afternoon, and be completely happy. It's also an excellent starting point for 40k lore if you've never experienced that before and you're interested and you're wondering where to begin. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have been rereading the Horus Heresy series recently, and I'm almost up to a good bit. I'll see you later.